Nature of Society, Part 2, Session 3. Last week we were introduced to the wage fund theory and the Malthusian doctrine. The wage fund theory is a belief that suggests that investment funding must be in place for any project or projects to take place and employment and other expenses to be catered for. This theory was debunked by indicating that the funding that bank credit provides is rarely the wealth that has been monetized and advanced from the labors of others in the society, and it is the continued production of labor that backs the credit provided. The Malthusian doctrine is the belief that world production doubles with the passing of every generation, and that the ability of food supplies and shelter to keep up with the growth is minimal. This was debunked by the fact that man's ability to produce food in enough quantities is increasing with the passing of every generation due to science and technology. Nature itself usually responds with abundance whenever man desires it too. There is also the spectacle of great abundance lying side by side with the most depraved poverty in every country and on every continent in the world. Did we ourselves examine the wage fund theory and the Malthusian doctrine in the context of the beliefs that society has regarded these two? What belief system did we see in operation during the week? Would anyone like to share? We also concluded last week that the problem is not with production of wealth, but its distribution. This week we will have a look at this. Production of wealth does have a relationship with the distribution of wealth. If the return on production is low, this would discourage production. If in the distribution arrangements in society, some may obtain greater returns by preventing production than by expanding it, then it is highly likely that these arrangements would find favor with the few, especially if those control the seats of government. Men are impoverished because of this restriction and the fact that what they do eventually produce is insufficient in value to be exchanged with all the things that would have them escape poverty. We will examine this more closely. When labor is applied to land, the product in normal circumstances may have to be shared among many stakeholders. If the land is owned by someone else, then a share of the produce will be demanded. This share we call rent. Whatever remains are the wages of the labor. This is a simple enough situation, but arrangements in society today are more complex. The word rent is normally used to mean the weekly, monthly, or annual payments that a landowner receives, partly for the land and partly for the building. He is a landowner and the owner of wealth, and will receive payments for each. So we stop now to have a break. We end this session by again listening to what Henry George has said regarding the terms labor, capital, and wealth. The use of one's mental powers and elevating the moral sense may greatly increase the ability to produce wealth. For man does not live by bread alone. He is not an engine in which so much fuel gives so much power. On a capstan bar or a Marseillaise, or a battle hymn of the Republic counts for bayonets. A hearty laugh, a noble thought, a perception of harmony may add to the power of dealing even with natural things. He who by any exertion of mind or body adds to the aggregate of enjoyable wealth, increases the sum of human knowledge, or gives to human life higher elevation or greater fullness, he is, in the large meaning of the words, a producer, a working man, a laborer, and is honestly earning honest wages. But he who, without doing aught to make mankind richer, wiser, better, happier, lives on the toil of others, he, no matter by what name of honor he may be called, or how lustily the priests of Mammon may swing their courses before him, is in the best analysis but a beggar man, or a thief. Taken from Production and Free Trade. On capital, he said, capital, as we have seen, consists of wealth used for the procurement of more wealth, as distinguished from wealth used for the direct satisfaction of desire, or as I think it may be defined, of wealth in the course of exchange. Capital, therefore, increased the power of labor to produce wealth, by enabling labor to apply itself in more effective ways, as by digging up clams with a spade instead of with the hand, or moving a vessel by shoveling coal into a furnace instead of tugging at an oar, by enabling labor to avail itself of reproductive forces of nature, as to obtain corn by sowing it, or animals by breeding them, by permitting the division of labor, and thus, on the one hand, increasing the efficiency of the human factor of wealth by the utilization of special capabilities, the acquisition of skill, and the reduction of waste, and on the other, calling in the powers of the natural factor at their highest, by taking advantage of the diversities of soil, climate, and situation, so as to obtain each particular species of wealth where nature is most favorable to its production. Capital does not supply the material which labor works up into wealth, as is economically taught. The materials of wealth are supplied by nature, but such materials partly worked up and in the course of exchange are capital. Progress and poverty. Before we end, I would like again to let you attendees know that Unsustainable Development is an educational offering devoted to the dissemination of its course to all of mankind, and to those who have the English language as their official language in the first instance, and to all eventually all over the world. To make this possible, and because we do not charge a fee for this dissemination, we rely wholeheartedly on monetary donations to meet the cost of achieving these goals. If you have found these sessions useful thus far, and would like others to have access to them, we would gratefully accept your donations should you be inclined to offer them. You can send donations to our PayPal account at the email address notebroker2001@yahoo.com. Thank you for your kind gesture. As indicated before, you can communicate with us by going to our Facebook page on Sustainable Development or our YouTube channel, Balancing the Economy. We will respond to all your comments or questions. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the alert button to get notices that our latest session has been posted. All sessions are archived at our website. Please share with your family, friends, and acquaintances.